Hi, welcome to episode 76 of Talk About the Passion, Somewhere in Time, named after the Iron Maiden album. My guest today is Steve Brooks. Steve plays guitar and sings in the bands Torche as well as Floor. I've been a huge fan of both of those bands for years, and his name was at the top of my list of guests I hope to have on at some point when I started this podcast. In this episode, we talk about getting into music as a kid in Florida through his family, and then becoming involved in the metal tape trading world, just as some of my recent guests were involved in as well. We talk a bit about both bands, Floor and Torche, and what some of the inspirations were for those bands. There was some stuff I never knew, so that was cool. As with a number of my guests throughout this podcast, Steve also started with Kiss. Kiss seems to be a pretty divisive band among people. They either love them or hate them. On this podcast, we love them. And I knew Steve did, so we start right at Kiss and end up in the present. Torche's European tour was cut short last year, and they've just recorded some new music he talks a little bit about at the end. A couple quick things. You can follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram. I keep those pretty up to date. And a new thing I have started up again is making playlists on Spotify that go along with the episode. Usually music we talk about mixed with the artist's music. And as I feel it should be said, this is mainly a convenient way to share playlists and music with friends. But you should always support these bands, especially right now where they aren't touring. A lot of bands have released some cool exclusive merchandise and music in the last year. I've been pretty happy to spend a lot of money on music already this year, so there's a lot of good stuff. If you like what you hear on this podcast, please like and subscribe. And if you would like to be on an episode or know someone who should, contact me on Facebook or Instagram. Just look up Talk About the Passion podcast and shoot me a message there. Anyway, here we go with episode 76, Somewhere in Time with Steve Brooks. Thanks for listening. All right, well, I am here on the phone with Steve Brooks. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks. One of the themes on this podcast, especially from people that play heavier music, has been Kiss, and that's been sort of the gateway band for a lot of people. So, thinking back to when you were younger, let's say it's Halloween and you're 13 years old, and you're gonna put Kiss makeup on. Who are you dressing up as?
Oh man, Paul.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because I've dressed like him.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever dressed like. I think I was Gene one time.
Yeah.
But that's like real young.
Yeah. When did you discover them?
When I was as far back as I can remember, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my cousin introduced me to them, but I would see them, in magazines and on TV, and I got Kiss Alive 2 for Christmas.
Yeah.
And that started it off. I remember going to school using the gatefold as like a folder, and I was in kindergarten. I still have the record.
The exact one,
It's kind of shredded and, it's all warped and stuff, but I still kept it.
Right. And so how young were you when you got into music in general?
It was in the family. My grandfather would always sing, country songs at the dinner table and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
And he would, when there would be like family reunions, there were musicians. It was like country music and, clogging and
right.
whatever you call it at that time.
Right.
Well, my dad played guitar. He would sit on the couch and he had this Univox sort of this guitar, and he would play it. And I think, because I liked Kiss, and I got like Ozzy records, and for Christmas I would always give a list of records, and I would see things when MTV started.
Right.
That right out off the bat got me into music. I mean, I was into music,
right?
Because but there was no, I was young, right. So it was, that's probably why I'm so nostalgic about like the '70s,
right?
And older songs.
Yeah, definitely.
But when MTV started, you'd see Iron Maiden back to back with Adam and the Ants. It was.
I love that.
It wasn't. So you get introduced to all these things, and I remember getting Number of the Beast on vinyl. I think I still have it actually in storage.
Yeah.
And that's what got me into Maiden. I remember I had I remember going to the mall. And they had there was some store that had an Iron Maiden Peace of Mind muscle T-shirt.
Yeah.
And I was shopping for Christmas, and I was like, I want to give this to Mom.
Right.
And my dad's like, I don't know if your mom likes Iron Maiden. I'm like, yeah, of course she does. So, I got it for Christmas, and she was awesome because she actually wore it. and of course I took it.
Yeah,
after that. But yeah, like whenever MTV would have a sort of a special, like a heavy metal special or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Headbangers Ball or anything. You kind of had to wait and it was a special thing like around the holidays or something. Yeah. I remember Dee Snider, I think, hosted it, and that's where I would, and then there was like Night Flight.
Oh yeah,
I
Night Flight.
kind of introduced
great.
a lot of stuff through that.
Yeah.
Wasp. I got introduced to Wasp, and it was actually the radio. It was a radio where I first heard Loudness.
Oh, okay.
And there was just a killer rock station in South Florida called K102.
Yeah.
And they would play like heavier rock.
Oh,
so
nice.
You could recall in the radio station and request, Crazy Train. And, you'd never hear it. But,
right.
It was the radio station that would occasionally play it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah.
It was a different time,
right.
and things were, I think Kiss started me off into like rock.
Yeah, definitely.
At an early age, and I remember I think it was the movie Over the Edge where I wanted to be those kids.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Yeah.
But I'm not a bad kid.
Right.
But it was like when I hear Surrender or something, it brings you back to that feeling. That's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the Van Halen on MTV. They would play "So This Is Love," and they would play "Pretty Woman" a lot.
Yeah.
But it never connected until I heard someone playing "Eruption" through it. They were just hanging out. I was fishing with my dad.
Yeah.
And there was like this. I think it was like a Camaro with some burners just kind of hanging out by the lake. And I heard Eruption. They were blasting it. And when I saw it, Van Halen on MTV, it connected. I was like, that's the sound. So I ended up, whenever I, could get money or, mow a lawn or something like that, I would get each Van Halen record until I found that song.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was in there, and I think it was like the second record I bought from them.
Okay.
That it was like Eruption, because I started like when Diver Down, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And then with Van Halen, they were like my favorite. But Eddie Van Halen, I wanted to play guitar. I was guitar obsessed.
Yeah.
And Yeah, go ahead.
No. I was gonna say. So was your dad supportive with guitar playing since he played guitar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my family was really supportive.
Yeah.
I was really lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, it was because when I just kind of was a loner, you know, I just kind of was. Yeah, you know when you're like the only metalhead
right
in school,
yeah.
and then you end up meeting friends through. I ended up making friends with skaters and
right.
through like liking the band SOD and
oh yeah
you like no, I'd have my folder completely covered with bands.
Yeah. You
and
could draw all the logos and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I would always wear shirts, and I had big poofy, like an afro, and kids would like throw gum in my hair, and so of course, when you get to, I think it was when you get to high school. When I got to high school, I became cooler.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to have anything to do with anybody that was shitty to me before.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So there was a time where I would see those guys at shows, and I'm like, "Fuck, man! I'm wearing this shirt,
right?"
And they're discovering these bands.
Yeah, I know. You kind of wanted that to yourself, you know.
I know. It was sacred.
Yeah.
It was like I searched for that shit, and I don't know. I just didn't want those fucking assholes around me.
Yeah, definitely. Do you remember the first concert you saw, like a big concert?
It was probably Oak Ridge Boys or Alabama or one of those bands.
Okay.
But that was with family.
Yeah.
But the first concert I was allowed to go to, which my mom can't believe she let me go to see Iron Maiden and Yngwie Malmsteen when I was 12.
Yeah. I think you posted that ticket. Yes, that was like the Somewhere in Time tour.
Yeah. But I begged her because I was, like Yngwie Malmsteen was my favorite guitar player, or one of them, right. And I kind of begged her. I was like, please, like my cousin Kevin is going, I can go with him, and he's, we'll be responsible. I won't smoke weed or anything.
right. I saw him on that same tour, but they played with Wasted. Remember that band? With a Y, with Pete Way from you.
Yeah.
They weren't very good, if I remember correctly, but we were kind of bummed that we didn't see Yngwie.
Dude, you know what? It sucked because I was waiting out in line and I could hear, Yngwie playing when I was outside of the sportatorium. I was like, "Fuck, man!" Like, well, this, And then I walked in and they're playing "I Am a Viking," and I'm just fucking, holy shit! I'm in the same room with Yngwie, and just to find out, like a few years later, that he lives in Miami.
That's crazy. So what's it like leading up to that Iron Maiden concert? Like once you secured tickets for that, how you must have been pretty psyched, and when your mother.
Oh man.
Like, okay.
Yeah. I was really excited.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was like Christmas, you know.
Yeah.
It's like getting something because I mean the first concert I was supposed to go to was Van Halen with my dad.
Oh wow!
When on the 1984 tour, and he said, "Oh, not this time," and said they'll be back, and
Oops.
That's why when Dave they did that first reunion tour, I got a couple of tickets.
Yeah.
They're like, it was like a little gift for Christmas,
Yeah.
Hey, got you Van Halen tickets.
Nice.
It's a little, like 30 years late, but.
That's awesome. And were you a fan of that Somewhere in Time Maiden album? It was a little different, but I like that record.
Yeah. I actually, I think Power Slave is like my favorite.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I feel like they just peaked with, like it was just such a perfect record.
Yeah, definitely.
And Somewhere in Time had like softer stuff, but
yeah,
I think it still makes me, it was the last record I owned from them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, I still have that feeling when I listen to it of that time.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Time,
Yeah, exactly. So you started doing tape trading and writing too. You've been posting like pictures of old letters and that kind of thing. When did you start doing that?
I think in 80, maybe 88, 89.
Yeah.
I think it was, because around that time I had a friend that was local,
right?
That that was into it, so he kind of like got me started,
right?
And I had a few things, and then I would like contact the bands when you could contact the bands.
Yeah, I know, right?
And and then I got contacts from all over the world, and I look at all these letters and everything that I got. I was like, dude, this is what I did in high school.
Yeah.
That's the 3 years I was in high school. Like I was all about like tape trading and the zine, and I would sit in my class and just do lists.
Yeah.
I wouldn't copy the list because they would constantly change. So I would individually like have pages that I would write of my trade of everything I have.
Right.
To send to a trader,
Awesome.
God. But I was really into it. I'd get home and there'd be like a few things in the mail.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's wild. Like going, cause all the stuff I kept in my mom's storage. So when I go there, there's still a lot of things that I completely forgot about.
Yeah.
And it's neat. It's like a little treasure. It's like a little time capsule, treasure box. And I had just this box. All these letters were like in envelopes at the time. And it's cool. It's just, like the envelopes, handwritten from these legendary sort of
like
bands,
guy from Autopsy, Cannibal
fucking Death, and there's like a where you can write to the band and they'll send you personal letters back. And
it's nice.
I mean everything's easy now, but
right.
You might wait like months, and it's funny because I'm reading through all these letters, and a lot of them say sorry for the delay, man.
It's probably like 6 months or something too. Just crazy,
totally. But if you have so many traders and pen pals, you're kind of constantly getting shit.
So that must have been cool for you to, like you were saying, you're kind of a loner in high school, so it must have been cool to just connect with like-minded kids around the world, and so that must have been great, But then when you get to school, you're still kind of in that zone because you're making lists in class and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I didn't like the friends that I had were I think it started like high school. I had a few metal friends, but then I kind of gravitated towards more arty sort of people.
Yeah.
But I didn't really hang out with anybody, like a whole lot of people. So, but I met a lot of friends that were older that were already out of high school.
Right.
And I was hanging out with them and going to shows. And I'm like, man, I'm 16 years old and I'm interviewing fucking Napalm Death on their tour bus.
Yeah.
Like holy shit,
Yeah, I saw that there was letters that were addressed to Steve Brooks, Scrolls of Sickness. So was that what was that?
That was my fanzine.
Your fanzine. Nice.
Yeah. I had, it was from like 1990 to 92.
Yeah.
And I did 2 issues and, like all that, I was on everybody's like mailing list, so
yeah.
I would get, you know, it was all like early relapse, and when, you know, Season of Mist started doing stuff over here, I found a postcard from, I think, 1991 or something.
Oh, wow.
And not Season of Mist. Fuck, is it Season of Mist? Shit, not Season of Mist.
Nuclear Blast or
oh my God, it's not Season of Mist. It's the Century Media.
Oh,
Fuck.
Century Media. We're gonna have our metal cards taken away here, Steve.
Oh my God, dude, I'm getting so confused. So, yeah, just cut that out of the interview. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do you remember when like metals, when you started getting into the more sort of heavy stuff that would have been like Napalm Death, and because you were sort of in the heart of that world too, in Florida, where a lot of that the death metal sort of started.
Yeah, it was really like, I started getting, I mean, it was like around 86, you know, I started getting into like thrash, you know, like speed metal, and, you know, it was like when Master of Puppets came out, and, you know, Slayer and Dark Angel and all these bands. I started getting into all the combat stuff.
Yeah.
And Death, Scream, Bloody Gore came out right around that time, like the Exodus, Clutches of the Flesh.
Yeah.
And I remember getting those two. And, you know, I heard, you know, like Possessed, but then I heard Morbid Angel.
Yeah.
And that got me into, like, the earache stuff.
Yeah,
I remember ordering Altars of Madness through a record store in New York. I think they were called like Under the Rainbow or something.
Okay.
And it was like a mail order. You could order them. It's through the mail,
right.
But you would get a whole list, and they had fucking bootleg records and all this like rare killer shit.
Yeah.
And I would call them, and I would, you know, say, you know, like I want to order the new Morbid Angel, and I would get into conversation with one of the guys I worked there, and he was like, "Have you heard Autopsy?"
Right.
And he was like, "If you're into like death, like Scream, Bloody Gore and Leprosy and stuff, you should hear this, you know, record." So I remember getting, you know, the Altars of Madness and Severed Survival.
Yeah.
Severed Survival. Sorry. And that's what kind of just started shit. So like you'd see the guys in the band wearing like Immolation shirts, and,
right?
Yeah, Sadists, and then I started kind of just finding out about all the bands, you know, when I started tape trading and writing to bands and to get their demos, and it started from there. You know, it's funny because I ended up getting the Assuck demo from a guy in Scotland. Scotland. I was like, man, they're a Tampa band. Yeah.
I know. You know,
I was like, I want to hear this band, but I don't know where I can get their shit.
That's pretty funny.
Dude, there's so many Florida bands I've never heard of that I just, you know, like I discovered way after the fact. You're like, holy shit, this, because you know, I think of Florida as kind of, you know, not having much,
right?
But we did. We had a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely did. And so you started playing guitar around this
yeah, I started playing guitar, and I would just get home from school and just be in my room and just playing guitar, pretending I'm somebody else.
Yeah.
And then, you know, start meeting people that played music or played instruments. And it seemed like a couple of years I was trying to get a band together.
Yeah.
And, you know, your tastes kind of change,
right?
You know, in your teens too. So I was looking for something weird, and it's just hard to find,
Right.
you know, the right people. So I think that's why I traveled for so long to just play with the people that I played with.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was really into, you know, guitar players. I was like into shredders and all that shit, and then I just got into really sloppy players, and I was like, I like good songs, but
Right.
I don't like that sort of when things are just too perfect.
Yeah, too clean and
Yeah, and I think that was what kind of like metal used to be.
right.
When I was growing up, it was kind of dirty and just, you know, it was, and then it just started getting really sort of polished, and all the guitar solos were like,
right.
you know, and I just ended up getting more into just raw shit, like the Melvins.
Yeah.
Basically, changed everything for me.
Yeah. What was the first thing you heard by them?
It was Boris.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's the song.
Because I remember, what was it? I would see them in like Maxim Rock and Roll or something, like advertised, and I would see their records at the record store, but I thought they were like some punk band or something,
right,
because of their name.
Yeah.
And I was into a lot of like the sub pop bands.
Oh yeah.
And a friend of mine told me, he's like, "Hey man, you gotta check out the Melvins." And he lent me, he's like, "This is their new record, Bullhead." And I listened to that, and then I was just fucking obsessed for a few years, just completely just. I mean, I started my one of my bands, Floor, because of the Melvins. Basically, it was not metal, but it just completely crushed everything.
Yeah.
And it was just loose and just fucking. You can kind of do whatever you want. They just kind of opened the doors for me.
Yeah.
And that just changed the game for me. I got into, you know, just kind of, it turned the page, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, got into a lot of other things, and the heavy shit. I think there's some like really heavy bands I fucking love.
Right.
And there's just so many of them.
Yeah.
That I can't keep up. I mean, Rick, our drummer Rick, he knows everything.
Yeah.
Fuck, like his record collection. I was staying with him in Miami, and his record collection is just insane.
Yeah.
Like, but he's heard everything, and he listens to all this fucking brutal shit.
Yeah.
Some of it, it's just fucking chaos.
Yeah.
It's just like, and you know, like, it's not something I think I have to be fucked up to listen to it.
Yeah.
But you know, he it's just, I've never heard of any of this shit too. So he introduces me to all this stuff. Awesome. And it's just fucking brutal, you know?
Yeah.
And, but I don't know. It's just like, I just like hooks.
Yeah.
I like the with old metal bands, I like the hooks and just riffs that you could just fucking riff along with.
Yeah. And that's kind of where Van Halen sort of mastered that early on, you know, where it was heavy. But catchy too.
And it wasn't simple either. It's like fucking crazy rhythms, but you think they're pop songs.
Yeah. I know, right? And do you remember the first time seeing the Melvins live?
Yeah, I saw them in Miami like around that tour.
Oh wow!
It was like 91, and it was I think when Joe first joined the band.
Oh wow!
Around that time.
Yeah.
So Buzz had like beads in his hair. and there was just like maybe 15 of us in this little club on South Beach.
Yeah.
And like that show was fucking just blew me away.
Yeah.
I think I talked about it for 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm still talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, it was just, it's like, it just set me on a whole new path. And I was I followed them I still follow them.
Yeah. They're still putting out cool stuff.
But they put out a lot of shit.
There is a lot of stuff. Yeah, definitely.
It was like, like Guided by Voices was a favorite band of mine, and I just couldn't keep up.
I stopped at one point. Now I'll check stuff out here and there, and I'll hear good stuff, but I'm like, it's just too much now. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you guys play Torche play Exit Flagger, I think, at one of the shows, and you recorded that too, I think, right?
Yeah. That was we were going to do a split. I've always wanted to cover like Guided by Voices.
Yeah.
And we were going to do that split with Part Chimp.
Yeah.
And I was living in Atlanta, and I was like, man, let's do some covers.
Yeah.
Because it was just one of those things. It was going to be fun, and we never really do covers.
Yeah.
And it was cool. We did a Nirvana cover too for a comp. Yeah. It's weird to listen to it because you always think that the original is so much better.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was fun to play live. And,
Do you remember discovering Guided by Voices?
Yeah, I discovered them. I remember seeing them on MTV, not any videos.
Yeah.
But they would talk about them in MTV News or something like that. But then the Breeders did a 10-inch where they did Shocker and Gloomtown, and they did a Sebadoh cover, and that introduced me to both those bands, which became favorites of mine for years too.
Yeah. And Guided by Voices is one of those bands just live. I took a couple friends to see them once, and they didn't like them, and part of me, just being the kind of guy I am sometimes, was kind of loving it, because like 10 songs into it, they were like, how much longer is this going to go? And I think they played 58 songs or something like that. And
dude, I saw them on the Alien Lanes tour.
Oh wow!
And they had like Chavez opened up, and that was like when they played like the Masquerade, which it's a smaller club, but Robert Pollard was up there doing like the split kicks, and it's awesome. Like, dude, this is a fucking amazing live rock and roll band.
Right.
And it inspired me too, because they're all middle aged. Back then. I was like, shit. Like I heard he was a teacher, and he just started. You go backwards and you find out all these records.
Yeah,
I didn't. I'm sure I got some bootlegs and shit like that of Guided by Voices, but I would. When the internet started, I remember having to order things through their website, and I was like, man, I can't find this, in any record store. And, and then, they had the Hooks, and Tobin Sprout, man. So he makes me cry.
Yeah. The last time I saw them, Mitch Mitchell was wearing an Iron Maiden shirt. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Oh, fuck yeah. I always thought he was like, kind of like a sort of hard rock guy too.
Yeah,
he always
definitely. Yeah,
had that sort of look.
Yeah, that tough guy. Yeah, kind of like a tough guy look to him. Definitely.
I mean, how can you not like Maiden?
Yeah,
if you like Rush or Maiden is just so fucking.
It's universal.
Yeah, I know it's wild.
Yeah,
that they got everything. It's like Kiss. They had that have their own sound and fucking artwork and everything. They just got, like, God, man. Anyway. Yeah.
Did you? I saw an article online. It was people talking about life-changing albums, and Bullhead was on there for you, and Propeller by. But this was a surprising one to me. Was Locust Abortion Technician by Butthole Surfers. That's one of my favorite albums of all time, and so you're a fan of that record.
Oh yeah,
that's a get high.
Dude,
that's
it's
a go-to forever for me for that.
I think that's what turned me on to, what I was talking about. Like you go from you wanting to be a shredder to kind of not. You listen to the Butthole Surfers, you're like, man, this is so fucking badass and so sort of warped and fucked up. And like when I started Floor, that's what kind of inspired the whole bomb shit that I'm doing, or that I'm still doing. Yeah, like I would have the high strings all untuned, and me and Anthony would we'd kind of we wouldn't tune to a tuner. We'd say, yeah, it sounds about low enough, and we sit there and tune to each other. So but Butthole Surfers sort of inspired that kind of,
just
like,
kind
fuck
of do
it,
what you
man.
want. No rule. You don't have to, and that's why I think your bands have always, because you can't. I wouldn't never call Torche a metal band, but it's a heavy band. I think that just kind of limits bands when you say, "Oh, we're a thrash metal band," so you just kind of.
I wanted to make that like a point, not a point, but when we first started the band, I didn't want to be. I didn't think we were like a super metal band. We're totally metal influenced, but
right.
Yeah, but I think we're kind of all over the place, and through the years we've been able to do things and get away with it.
Yeah, I think it's
because
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't know, because I love like power pop and all kinds of things, and I wanted to have a sound where I could have the freedom to do that type of shit. And I've been lucky with this band to do it.
Yeah, you can hear that your band, like, I think Torch reminds me of the Van Halen and Guided by Voices. It doesn't sound like it, but you can hear that in there. Like it's the sort of the. When you
I feel like
influences, you hone them in pretty well, I think.
I know it's weird because we were just recording. I was like, God, do I sound more and more British with every record when I try to like lay vocals down. I'm like, how should I sing this?
Right. And so Floor starts.
But an American trying to imitate a British, British. Terribly.
Some of our like the guy in Interpol, he does that sort of fake.
Oh yeah.
Accent, so Floor starts in 92.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was right out of high school basically, and I met actually a bunch of people that were at the Melvins show. I feel like that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I had like an ad like at the record stores and stuff, looking for musicians where you could just post on the thing. And I was into Godflesh and Melvins, and I met a bunch of people through that. But I finally got somebody that was really into it. This guy Max, he played he played drums when we first started, and he also does like his own group called Goslings.
Okay.
And he still does stuff.
Yeah.
And so we started with him, and we'd end up talking for hours on the phone just over like just geeking out on the Melvins and Swans and shit like that. Just Diamanda Galas and
oh yeah.
And just and it's funny because Rick does stuff with them now, like years later, but
wow.
but I was going through my letters, and when Max was living in the UK for a little while, I found an old letter with him.
Oh, wow.
It's and all that stuff is like, I think 95 or something.
Yeah.
But where was I going with this? Yeah. So Floor started, but it took a while to really like get the band formed,
right.
because Max didn't really work out, and then we got Betty, who plays in this other group called Holly Hunt, and she played in Cavity and a few other bands, and she started playing with us, and then we started actually recording, and we had a shit ton of recordings, and then we got this guy Jeff, and started putting out 7 inches around that time. And I've basically been doing this stuff since then. I took a couple of years off where I sold my guitars and my amps and stuff, and went to school, and thought I would be an optometrist because I didn't want to be poor. And then just ended up buying equipment again and playing in bands, and here I am.
Sense, and you guys started getting you were pretty popular, the Floor.
That was weird. I mean, actually, like, that didn't happen until we really started, when we reformed the band. Because when that first record came out, it took like 10 years for the first record for actually anything to come out.
Right.
And then we broke up. And Torch started like pretty much 2 years after that record came out. That record also, I think, took a year to come out.
Did it? Yeah.
So, but it was kind of weird to some people, I think, when it came out, because everybody was expecting screaming vocals and stuff, and when it confused everyone because I wasn't trying to do that. So it just I remember playing a show with, it was Exhumed. Floor played with Exhumed and Mortician.
Oh wow. Mortician live. Huh?
I know, and they're fucking dude. It was their crowd hated us. They were just they were chanting, "You suck, you suck." And we're a fucking loud ass band too, So we would, we'd just make more noise. But it was brutal. I was like, man, I don't want to play the metal anymore.
Right.
But
it was like when the Melvins toured with Primus. I think they even put a track on one of their CDs that's literally just like the audience like booing or yelling at them or something.
Oh my God. Yeah. I remember, like, they were one of my favorite bands, but I mean, my favorite bands also got the shit, they ended up getting shit on and fucking middle fingers. And I mean, Godflesh played in Miami. People were like throwing cups at him and shit like that, and I was like, this is the heaviest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, seriously.
And you're complaining that there's not a drummer. But, I mean, I saw him with like Helmet and I think who else? I mean, I saw him a bunch of times. I'm trying to think of like the early, other than I remember they canceled the show in Miami. Like, I went to see Gwar. When I think they toured with Gwar.
Right.
Yeah. And they canceled that show, and I walked in. I was like, "Fuck, I can't," because I wasn't into Gore. I was just like, I came here to fucking see the Melvins.
Yeah, that sucks.
And but Gore was fucking fun as shit live.
Yeah,
I was glad I stuck around.
Yeah, definitely. And so Torch starts, and you share some of the songs. Sometimes you played some of the Floor songs in Torch, right?
Just in the beginning of Torch.
Yeah.
Because I had written a bunch of stuff towards the end, when Floor broke up.
Yeah.
I had some stuff. I had material already.
Yeah.
So I basically started Torch, and I had already all these riffs and stuff. Right. So that first record was recorded like in a couple of months after we started.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't really have the sound yet.
Right.
But it was kind of like a nice skeleton of.
Oh, definitely,
yeah. Where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, I listen to it now. It goes well with all the other records. I think every record's kind of different in some ways, but
yeah. It's a good bridge, I think, between Floor and what you guys ended up doing on like Neanderthal after that record.
Yeah, it's not. It's just faster and more energy and stuff. Floor was slower and just fucked up.
Yeah. It didn't have the melody as much as it was almost more of the riff.
Yeah.
I was telling my girlfriend about this last night, how I had seen you at Great Scott in Massachusetts here when Floor came through. I said it was, they're one of these bands that was so heavy it made you almost want to shit your pants. And I was trying to explain it, and she didn't really believe that that's a thing. And I said, no, it's that's like a feel it rumbling, and that was.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love it. Like we just recorded, and just hearing the bass with that floppy string, it's just fucking gross.
And you've had the same rhythm section this whole time. Jonathan switched over to guitar, but so you guys have been together this long. How have you managed to sort of stay close with those two?
I mean, basically, they've managed to keep me kind of focused on the band and everything. And I mean, if they weren't the way that they were, or they are, like I don't know if this band would have lasted this long. But I'm really lucky for both of them.
Definitely.
And now we record everything. Rick's got a print shop, so he prints, like our merch now, and we kind of can do things ourselves. We're putting out a new record, and I think we're at a good point right now to just take over our own band, in a way, but we've managed to. I'm rambling. I managed to. We've had a few issues with members that just didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably the strongest we've been.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Eric's great.
Eric's played. Yeah, he's played with Rick and John and other bands for decades now, I believe.
Yeah.
And so him kind of jumping on board was I mean, I'm surprised we didn't do it earlier.
Yeah.
But John picked up the bass to play in this band.
Yeah.
He was a guitar player, so him getting back on guitar it seems more natural.
Yeah.
And Eric just plays different.
Yeah.
He's just got a different feel, and he works really well with, I mean, that rhythm. Him and Rick, they're just right on. I mean, John was too, but it's just like John can, he's got an ear for other things that just thicken up our sound.
Yeah.
And he's making our amps.
Yeah.
Now, you know, it's like,
yeah.
dude, he's busy
literally
as fuck.
dial in your sound exactly how, wants.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, just Rick needs to make his own drums.
And Jonathan I think he had said he would play guitar on most of the stuff anyway in the studio, like just adding things here and there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a studio guy, so he can come up with a bunch of different shit. I don't know if I have the patience or attention span to.
Yeah.
I get into the studio and I just kind of want to get out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I'm excited about just the writing process.
Yeah.
And where songs kind of go.
Yeah.
Once you get into the studio, because you think that you listen to the live recordings and you're like, oh man, this is fucking raw shit. You know, and you get in the studio and like, oh man, all the vocals I came up with don't sound right for this.
Right.
I got to start from scratch, or it's just, just things completely change in the studio.
Yeah.
And then you ended up like imitating it live or trying to.
But you like that process of putting music together.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I used to write a lot of things just on my own, and I still do, but I haven't written like songs by myself for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I've always been collaborating with the other members.
Right.
So it's kind of like when we get together, we're so sort of locked in that we can write a couple, like a song a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be like, shit, I feel like we wrote like 10 songs, but we just recorded like 6. We're like, let's not like fucking overload ourselves and put all this pressure on ourselves because, we're not on like a time limit here or anything.
Yeah.
So we just busted out a bunch of, like 6 new songs and, can't wait to put it out.
Yeah.
I want to do this. I want it out instantly.
I know that. Yeah. So did you guys have plans for in 2020 to be doing things? And then, obviously it came to a halt, but you guys did a lot of cool stuff online. You were selling stuff and it was kind of a terrible year in general, obviously 2020, but for artists, and fans, like artists did a lot of, cool and interesting things because you kind of had to kind of, keep the momentum.
Man, yeah, it was. We had a bunch of plans. We had just started our European tour.
You were in Greece, right? Yeah.
Yeah, fuck, man. Like we already. I mean, we're already in the hole before the pandemic really like hit. So we went to the UK. We did a BBC session.
Yeah.
And then we went to Russia and played a few shows in Russia. And then when we got to Russia, that's when like Italy had like locked down and we were like, oh fuck. We're on the other side of the world.
Fuck.
And we, people are telling us to keep going, like we're booking things around it and all this shit. I'm like, man, so we had a bunch of complications, that kind of got us. We had to cancel one of the shows in Greece at the last second.
Yeah.
And then we played Athens, Greece, and that was the last show. And I mean, it was like half the people didn't show up.
Right.
They bought tickets, but they didn't show up.
Yeah.
And then the next day, we were supposed to meet up with Russian Circles and start a tour that ended April 17th.
Yeah.
And instead I was flying back to LA.
Yeah.
Right after that, it was, like when we showed up in Greece, I had played the night. So we were hanging out with them.
Right.
the night before too. So they were they were out there too.
Yeah.
Like fuck, like
Oh,
shit's
yeah. It's crazy, right?
fucking crazy right now, and I haven't really. I mean, this whole year, it's just trying to do what you can do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we basically, we lost a lot.
Yeah.
Like just getting out there and then coming home, and I mean, a lot of people lost a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, my life. I mean, all our lives completely changed. It seemed like the next day.
I know,
I got really. I mean, I'm still really germophobic. I didn't used to be like that, and it's hard for me to kind of think that way.
Right.
Now, I go out and I really like make sure I wash my hands.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, you can feel your hands being dirty now almost more when you go outside even,
Yeah, I mean, they're all sort of chapped, when you go out in public.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm starting to see friends and family and stuff get the vaccine, so I'm a little more hopeful than I was.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to figure out how to get it, because
yeah, I know, right?
I'm seeing people younger than me get it, and
I know.
I'm like, I mean, I always, I also, they could be in science or have a medical condition or something,
right.
but I'm thinking like, oh man, there's like gotta be like, there's extras in certain places, like leftovers. Where can I find this?
Right. I know.
Where do I sign up for this?
I know. So.
Yeah, my mom, it's like a little over a week ago, my mom and aunt, they both got their first shots. So that kind of relieves some of my, anxiety, because I'm worried about all my family with this, but
especially.
But it's just kind of takes a little weight off. That I don't. We're still going to have to take care and be cautious and everything, and wear masks and all that stuff. But I don't want to lose anybody.
Yeah, and as much as you probably want to get back to touring, it's
nah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I started kind of enjoying touring a little more recently than I ever did.
Okay.
And then all this shit hits. I'm like, fuck, I kind of miss touring a little.
Yeah.
But when you're in your 40s and you're, on a, you got little back issues and shit like that. You're like, definitely want to bed tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So I guess we expect to maybe hear a new Torch record this year. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it done and out, and hopefully 2021 we can get back to some sort of normalcy.
I know, right?
Because I mean, I think we had like, it was like 3 European tours for 2020.
Yeah.
It didn't, we were starting one of them, but we had plans, man.
Yeah.
So now, like, whenever I see, flyers for like festivals, they're kind of like, is this really going to happen?
I know. Yeah. There's that one in Vegas. Isn't that already planned? The Psycho Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. For August.
I think.
Yeah.
That just doesn't
I was like,
possible.
Yeah. But you can always postpone it for the next year.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome.
So.
Well, Steve, all
right.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to talk. And
yeah, thanks for letting me geek out.
Sure. Actually, I have one more question. A friend and I are big fans of the Neanderthal album, and there's no lyrics in that record. So we've always thought the second line in Across the Shields was, Sue said, bring a dull knife, which I probably isn't that.
Oh my God! What? Oh, I think his soothsayer flings a dull knife.
See? All right. She'll be happy I asked that.
Yeah, it's just stupid shit. That's why I didn't print the lyrics. So I'm like, man, you gotta fucking read this shit. God damn it.
That's much better. Awesome. All right, man. Well, you have a good night, and we look forward to hearing some new music from you.
All right, man.
All right. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Take care.
You too. Bye.